Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Jim K. Ford Sens Nation podcast. Steve Warne along with the coach, Gregg Kennedy. Let's get into it. Some good news. It's a double-edged sword, I got to admit. Right out of the gate, the Sens win 2 straight. So, you know what? The way the Sens had been going, there's no room for description on the score sheet. But this is a podcast, so we're going to do some describing in here as well. And those are not very good teams that they beat in the last 2 games. Big weekend coming up, though. Greg, how are you doing anyway?
I'm good, Steven. I'm good. I agree with you totally. Those were 2 games that, you had to win if you want any hope, if you want to convince anyone that you've got a shot at the playoffs. You had to win the last 2 games, and they did, and easily, although we can nitpick some certain elements in both games. But this weekend's going to be far more telling. These 2 games coming up against Montreal and Detroit Saturday, Sunday are going to be far more telling than the last 2 games for sure.
Huge weekend, big Atlantic Division rivals. And it's not just the points, because that's part of it. It's about restoration of confidence and swagger and hopefully some goaltender, whether it's Lévi Meriläinen or whether it's maybe James Reimer making his debut as an Ottawa Senator. I saw he got the new mask on Friday, showing off his new paint at practice. Or whether it's Linus Ullmark, because that's certainly a possibility as well. Though it's like, I think we forget that Linus Ullmark did not have a very good start to this season. So it's not like it's the return of the conquering hero. He'll fix everything. Everything's kind of in a gray area, but it was encouraging news as far as, where Ulmark is at. Because, the Senators went ahead and just put out on social media today. Let me see if I can find it here. That's step one. They went ahead and put out on social media today Linus Ullmark coming out of the dressing room, which was a very, very good sign. Okay, so where is it? Here we go. There we go. I think I got it here. Maybe. Where is it? What have I done here? Oh, yes.
Oh.
See, there's Bo Bichette signing with the New York Mets. That's not great, but
oh my God, really?
Yeah, you didn't see that. No, you're the biggest Blue Jay fan I know. That's he signed a 3-year contract. I'll fire it back there. There's your deal. 3 years, $126 million.
No, it says Mets are signing. It doesn't say they did sign. It says are signing.
According to multiple reports. Damn it. So here's the tweet for your YouTube listeners. Doing some warm-ups. This isn't the first time he's been skating. This is what I find meaningful here is just the fact that the Senators went ahead and put this out there. I think it creates a level of expectation in the market that something may be imminent. This is not me, though, Greg, in any way putting expectation or, rushing the guy along or anything like that. He's on a personal leave of absence, and everybody's respecting that. However long that takes, that's how long it takes. But putting this out, I think, is going to raise some expectation levels among the Sens fan base, no?
Oh, for sure. There's no doubt every Sens fan who's watching it and follows that site, they've seen the footage. They probably think he's going to play tomorrow night, Saturday, against the Habs. I'm willing to bet he's not playing this weekend. I think the bigger question right now is who's playing Saturday and who's playing Sunday. I don't think Ulmark's going to play for another maybe midweek at best. I mean, assuming he's back for real and he's got to get in game shape, he's got to get ready to go. So he's not playing this weekend in my mind. You don't think he is, do you?
I do not, and Darren Dreger put it out there that he thought it might be middle of next week when he ends up returning. Yeah. But no, the goaltending is so fluid right now in that no one yet, James Reimer hasn't given an opportunity yet to grab the ball and run with it. Meriläinen was solid against Vancouver, okay against the Rangers, but there was nothing in there despite the 2 W's that made me go, okay, he's got it figured out. He may be the guy moving forward. And certainly Ulmark has not had a great start to the season either. So it's a big old jambalaya. But you'd have to think that there's a good chance that Reimer gets into one of the games, either Montreal at Ottawa or the game in Detroit on Sunday at 5.
I think that if Reimer were in town maybe a week earlier, that he would definitely be playing Saturday night against Montreal based on what we saw from Meriläinen in the last half of the Ranger game. But yeah, he'll play this weekend. I'm thinking Sunday. I'm guessing Meriläinen because well, it all depends, right? Is Reimer ready? If he's ready to go, then yeah, he'll play Saturday night. If he's not fully 100% ready to play in an NHL game, then he's probably not going to go till Sunday. But you know that if it's Meriläinen on Saturday, you know Meriläinen's not playing Sunday. He's not going back to back. So Reimer's playing one of these two games.
Although Meriläinen, for the second time in like a week, went back-to-back this week and won both games. What did you think of the back-to-back this week? It worked out. They win over Vancouver at home, and then the next night they go to Madison Square Garden with Meriläinen starting again. They win again, so it panned out. But when you heard prior to the Rangers game that Meriläinen was going to go back-to-back again, and bearing in mind that he gave up 8 goals in Colorado the last time, a week earlier, were you surprised by that?
Well, my first thought was, my God, they must have zero confidence in anyone else. Like, right? Obviously, Reimer's not ready, but they must have zero confidence in Shepherd or the Great Dane to back to back with travel in between. You played one day, you traveled and played the next night, and you're going to go with the same goalie. My first thought was exactly that, Steve. Was really? Wow, they must not like anybody else. I didn't think he looked good in the second half of the game. Now, granted, the team looked a little sloppy. They got up to a big lead and started playing a little carefree, but I don't think he looked good. He still gives up bad goals. The Rangers suck, man, especially at home, and you give up 4. 8-4 is an ugly score. If you're going to score 8, it should be 8-1 or 8-2 or 8-0, not 8-4. That just looks ugly, and I didn't think he was great. He was good enough to get a win, but I don't know that I honestly think that anyone could have got the win, especially with the start the Senators got out to.
Yeah. Jonathan Quick looked very much, he'll be 40 next week, and he very much looked like that at times. He had won from the point there and saw it all the way, and it still couldn't stop it. So I think the end is nigh for him. Well, we know the end is nigh for him. He's 40 next week. But I think the decision was basically, it wasn't about, Shepherd wasn't in the decision mix because he was sent down to the minors in the morning, and Reimer was activated off the non-roster. And so it was a decision between Reimer and Meriläinen. And honestly, I was good with it. I was good with the decision to go back-to-back with Meriläinen simply because James Reimer is a 37-year-old goalie who just got to the team, and he hasn't played an NHL game in 9 months. And so I wanted to give him a few more practices, a little more time around the team, and I think this is the weekend when you've probably got to get him in there. But again, with Ulmark returning, that will complicate things. Like, what do you think happens out of the 3-headed monster from there? And I think we're just talking here in a podcast. Based on the fact the Sens were willing to put that video that we just showed out there a moment ago, I think that they know that his return is close. If he was still kind of, sequestering himself a little bit from the team and still dealing with whatever he's dealing with, I feel like they wouldn't have put that out there. So I'm going to go ahead and say he's going to be back soon. I feel like that's a decent, reasonable speculation. So what then? Is it going to be Meriläinen down to Belleville? Or do you maybe just bite the bullet on the $400K that Reimer has left?
I think it's Reimer. I think you keep Reimer. I think you send Meriläinen down. He's got to find his game. I think we can all agree he needs to find his game. He needs to get better, and it's not happening playing in the NHL right now. So maybe the best thing for him is to go down and play a lot. And that to me is a simple decision. Yeah, I don't know. You mentioned adding Reimer to the lineup and sending Shepherd down. That move could have just as easily been made the next day if they really wanted to play somebody other than Meriläinen in net. If they wanted to play, Hunter Shepherd, then they could have played Shepherd and waited a day to do the Reimer move. I just think, that Reimer's got to be the guy. You went out and got him. He's got to at least play one game. It's going to be this weekend, and I think that if he's even half decent, he'll be the guy the rest of the way because Meriläinen needs to find his game and get some confidence and play. So I see them setting Meriläinen down and keeping Reimer. Yeah, and I'd like to think you feel the same way, don't you?
There's many options. I think my plan A would probably be to send Meriläinen down, but with with the because he's already been sent down once this year, just making sure you communicate well. We just want to see what James Reimer can do because there's a very good chance that Reimer might be done. Like, you take 9 months off from NHL hockey at 37, the end may be near. And there's a reason why the guy, it's middle of January and he's just getting back into the NHL. He could have been had by anybody over the last 3 months and no one wanted him. And so I need to see, I'll give him a shot this weekend, but there's a very good chance he doesn't look very good. And so the decision may be made for them and Meriläinen stays and Reimer does not. And I think that you'd have no problem putting Reimer down in the minors. He'd have to clear waivers, but
Right.
it's not like anybody was running to sign him in the last little while. So the option exists. I just want to see. I don't want to make any decisions on anything because I think Reimer will get a game in before Ullmark is back. And I agree with Darren Dreger. It's probably going to be next week, and then make our decisions from there. Would there be any let's be honest. It's a long layoff for a 32-year-old too in Linus Ullmark. Would you maybe
That would
send
be
him
the
down on a
easiest thing.
conditioning stint?
Oh, geez. You think so? Yeah, well, maybe. But I don't think they can afford to do that. They can't afford to be giving up games. They can't afford to be losing games. And if they deem that Allmark maybe not at 100% is their better chance in net to win a game, then he stays and he does not go down for any conditioning stint. I think he definitely, as soon as he's ready to go, he's going to play. And the easiest solution to all of this is for Allmark to come back ready to go and go on a nice little tear. And who cares who the backup is because he's not even going to play. That would be the easiest answer to the whole thing. Ullmark come back, get on fire, and go on a run until the break for the Olympics. Wouldn't that be super?
A run by anybody would be super because right now none of these three goalies guarantees a return to goaltending excellence. So let's see how it all plays out. But an encouraging sign. Even if you're not an Ulmark fan hockey-wise at this stage of the game, just good to see the guy back and around the team again and hopefully a few steps closer to getting whatever the issue was behind him and his family. Moving on. Brady Tkachuk with a 4-point night in New York and his 200th goal. And there's been some dialogue about Tkachuk and his play since returning from the thumb injury. The team's record hasn't been that great as their conquering hero and leader returns to the lineup after thumb surgery. And so it was good to see him have a really big night because he's had a lot of games where he's been, honestly, with all due respect, a little on the invisible side, Gregg.
Yeah, too many, in fact, Steve. I wonder if the fact that he can't fight affects his game. It shouldn't. Like, I don't mean can't as in is unable to. I mean can't as in by the rules with his wrist and thumb taped. He's not allowed to fight. It's a game misconduct, I believe. It's a pretty serious penalty if he fights with his hand wrapped, so he can't fight. And I've heard rumblings of people talking about, well, maybe that's why he's not the same player. Well, you know what? You can still forecheck hard. You can still throw the body around. You can still be a net front presence. You can still do everything else, even if you can't fight. So I don't know what it is, but he's been in a bit of a funk, and you're wondering if there's something else nagging at him, or maybe the hand really isn't 100%. The thumb, I should say, isn't really 100%. I don't know that we'll ever know the answer, but you're absolutely bang on. He has not been the Brady of old for a long time.
Yeah, I think that with a guy like that and his bull in a china shop style that he plays with, I think that any level of concern about the thumb, like if he's not allowed to fight and he's still wearing the brace, that indicates it's prone to maybe re-injuring, and he doesn't want to get hurt again. I know there's a lot of talk about people that are saying he's saving himself for the Olympics. I don't believe that. I think he's just trying not to get hurt again. And I think that anytime a player like that has even a modicum of that in their brain, that it can just take a little of the edge off their game. And like you talked about, I think that may be in the back of his head still. And maybe what we saw in New York is a return to more of the Brady Tkachuk that we're used to seeing. But here's the thing, like this guy has played so well for this team and laid out for this team physically, whether it's, leading the league in hits, whether it's fighting for his non-fighting teammates, whether it's getting beat up in front of another team's net. This guy has built up, what do you call them? Oh, I learned this in a psychology class or something. I think it's called idiosyncratic credits. There's
Okay.
so much credit that this guy has built up throughout his time as an Ottawa Senator. Like, I just wanna tell Sens fans, yeah, I agree with you. He's not been that great. No, he's not been at his level here in the last month, but he's built up so much credit. I just think it's really offside to be going at him to suggest that, he's doing something like saving himself for the Olympics or, just a lazy player or something like that. Just like, calm down, everybody. This guy deserves the benefit of the doubt.
Agree completely. 100%. I'm with you.
All right. So nice to see him get his 200th goal. One of the was he the fastest Ottawa Senator to get
No.
200 goals? He was in the discussion. In the discussion, though.
Third. Yeah,
Okay.
he was on the list. I think he's either 3rd or 4th.
Yeah, and I think he moves into, I don't know, is he 4th all time? Something like that? 3rd or 4th? I should have these stats. Yeah, coming on a Sens podcast and just sort of wondering about things. I apologize. Anyway, 200 goals. He's right up there with the best in Sens history, and good to see. And then that line looks really nice. We had Cousins with Gregg and Tkachuk. Cousins, he's big. I don't know that he's the Hornet that Ridley Gregg or Brady Tkachuk can be, but that's a difficult line to play against because they bring an annoyance factor to the table, but at the same time that annoyance factor comes with some nice skill too, doesn't it?
Yeah, at least all 3 of them can provide offense. Really, Gregg seems to be snake bitten when it comes to actually shooting a puck into a net. But yeah, all 3 of them bring offense. All 3 of them bring the same type of game. They're going to support each other on the ice. They're going to be physical to a certain point. Obviously, Brady and Ridley Gregg far more physical. I'd love to see Dylan Cousins. He's 6'3" for crying out loud. Can you throw your weight around once in a while? Like, just show me you're interested at least in the physicality of it. That kind of ticks me off about his game. And maybe playing with Brady a little more, it's going to rub off even more. And we might see a better game out of Dylan Cousins. But then again, having said all of this, who knows what lines we're going to get Saturday night and who's going to stay together? Because we could just as easily discuss the 4th line that looked so good in the Ranger game with David Perron and Lars Eller and Nick Cousins. That line looked great. But then, okay, it's Montreal. It's a Saturday night. Does that mean we got to bring McDermott back in? Like, what's the lineup going to look like Saturday night? And then what are the lines going to look like? So I find discussing lines can be a little precarious for us because you never know if you're going to get the same thing the next day or not.
Yeah. With Dylan Cousins, I still have reservations about him. I'm still not 100% sold on him. I think that, he's got a great release. He has scored a wicked goal, finishing off one a really nice play with Tkachuk and Ridley Gregg, where Tkachuk barges through along the boards, wins the puck, gets it over to Gregg, and makes a smart little, not even a drop pass, he just kind of just leaves it there for Cousins, and he wires it home. But Cousins is like, that's the good of Cousins. And he can be very north-south, and he can snipe, but at the same time, defensively, every once in a while, they go, "What are you doing?" Or the goal that cost Lévi Meriläinen. Like, here's Meriläinen, like a 23-year-old kid in the NHL who's trying to find his way and get his swagger and confidence back. He's in line for a shutout against the Canucks, who are just junk. They're not doing anything. And Cousins just gives the puck away in his own zone, just fumbles it in an immediate goal. And it's like, what are you doing, dude? So I still have my reservations about Cousins, but still, I haven't given up on him yet. And I know that there are people who like him. And I think if you look at the big picture too, what they gave up for him in Josh Norris. Norris is having a decent season, but he got hurt again, Gregg. He got hurt again. And just, oh my God, what are you?
But all those reservations you have about Dylan Cousins were the reason that the Senators were able to acquire him. Because Buffalo had those reservations. This guy'd been
Right.
playing on the 4th line at times. He'd been a healthy scratch at times before he was traded from Buffalo. He's come down a long way from his 30-goal season one time 4 years ago in Buffalo. So all those reservations were there when he was acquired, but we've all said all along that we believe that if he can be what he's supposed to be, a physical, bigger sized, healthier, reliable, durable number 2 centerman, that the Sens will win the deal. And even with the reservations that you just outlined, and I agree with, I think the Sens still are winning the deal.
I'd agree. But man, the Buffalo Sabres, what the hell has gotten into the Buffalo Sabres? Got the standings up here for our YouTube listeners, and there's Buffalo. Gregg, a month and a half ago, there's Buffalo right there in a wild card spot. A month and a half ago, we were literally laughing at the state of the Sabres. They're going to continue. They're not home and cooled now as far as, and the wild card is crazy. But this is a team that's currently riding the NHL longest playoff drought. And here they are suddenly 10 games above 500 in the win-loss column, 26, 16, and 4. Just a complete and utter turnaround in Buffalo. But as Mike Ogello, who writes for the Buffalo website, he's the site editor at the Hockey News. I've never seen, because he's covered them for a long time, so he knows. Right. He's saying he's won 50. They won 15 of 17 or something like that. But everybody in Buffalo is just getting ready for them to lose 15 of 17 now, because that's the Buffalo Sabre way.
Wide right is just around the corner.
Yeah.
But while you've got that up on the screen, I did a little math this morning, and the Senators, you can see where they are now. With Boston in the last playoff spot, Boston's on pace to get 97 points. For the Senators to get 97 points, they have to play over 630 hockey the rest of the way. And that is asking a lot. There's only 3 teams in the league that are over 630 on the season. Colorado, Dallas, help me out.
Tampa.
There's your 3 teams in the NHL that are over 630, and the Senators need to go 630 for their final, whatever it is, 36 games or 37 games, whatever it is. That's asking a lot if you want to get to 97 points. Now, 97 wasn't the number last year, but it looks like it might be this year, and that's asking a lot from a team that, there's a certain point in the season where you are what your record says you are. And if they are, in fact, what their record says they are, then they're not going to make it. But then again, there's people who will say, oh, wait a minute, they're right at or just above last year's pace. So explain that to me. Well, the answer is there's a lot better teams, or a lot more teams that are above them now than there were last year or even the year before. A lot of teams that were used to be way down below them have climbed up the ladder and are way far ahead of them, like Detroit, like Buffalo, like how do you explain the Islanders, for crying out loud? How do you explain Pittsburgh? I mean, my God, some of these teams that you didn't expect to be where they are, Boston, another one, right? You just don't expect this from those teams. Buffalo, Montreal, Detroit, there's 7, 8, 9 of them that you never would have thought would be where they're at right now. And because of that, the Senators are in serious trouble because they got so many teams to jump over.
Yeah, like you mentioned, it's not dramatically different from where the Sens were this time last year, but it's just everybody else. There's been so many teams that have taken a jump forward. The level of parity is crazy, and so as a result, what they did last year, quite frankly, isn't good enough this year, and they're going to have to floor it. And I think the hope is that maybe they won't necessarily need that number that you talked about, because, as you mentioned, there's a bunch of teams in there that we expected to be mediocre. So maybe there's a reckoning at some point in the second half here where they kind of fall back more to where we expected them to be. But this parity has been going on for a long, long time in the East. So while I hope that will happen, I'm a little skeptical. It looks like parity may be here to stay in the NHL. It's a little crazy. But, as I move down to the Western standings here, take a look at Ottawa. They have 49 points right now, 22, 9, and 5. Now let's look at what the wild card is down here. The Senators have 49 points, and to get a wild card out west, all you need is 51 points. So they'd be 2 points out of a playoff spot in the West. Right now, they are 7 points out in the East. So it's going to be interesting down the stretch.
Yeah, well, like we just finished saying, 10 minutes ago, some goalies got to get on a streak, get the goaltending fixed. I'd be fine if the penalty killing stays the same. If the goaltending's better, they will be better. If both goaltending and penalty killing are better, look out.
Let us take a time out here on the program. A lot of people think the Senators, even if everybody's healthy and doing okay, still need a little more. That they maybe need a couple of more pieces of high-end talent, whether it's another top 4 defenseman, whether it's a goalie, maybe another top 6 forward. But where are the trade chips if this team is going to do anything? Like, goaltending is the big question mark, as we mentioned earlier in the show. One of these goalies you hope will grab the ball and run with it, but we haven't seen it yet. So if they did have to go out and get another goalie to sort of save this season, what could they possibly give up? Well, first of all, who's available? But what could they give up is what I want to talk about when we come back from the break. And as far as prospects go, we know they don't have a first-round draft pick this summer, but at the same time, Corey Promenade from The Athletic has the list of top U23 prospects around the league, and the Senators do not fare very well. We'll also talk about some trade rumors out there as well, and much more coming up after these words.
Are you ready to take your Ford ownership to the next level? Introducing Ford Pass at Jim Keay Ford, your passport to a world of convenience and control. Start your vehicle remotely, lock or unlock it from your smartphone, receive instant alerts about your vehicle's health, and schedule service appointments. Don't miss out on the Ford Pass revolution at Jim Keay Ford, 1438 Uville Drive in Orleans, or online at jimkford.com.
Hockey season is finally here. This is where fans show their colors. The cheers, the rivalries, and the late night games. But your home should be part of the game too. Control your lights from anywhere with a phone or a tablet. With Celebrate Permanent Lighting, you can show off your team's colors all season long. Celebrate every win and stand out every season with Celebrate Permanent Holiday Lighting.
You know, Steve, if you ever get tired of waiting in line for an oil change, you can go to Midas, make an appointment. You don't have to wait in line. You just show up whatever time you want it. They'll set up an appointment for you. Walk in, get your car done in 20 minutes, wait there for it. Maybe takes 40 minutes, but they're going to give it a good going over while it's in the shop. Check out the 5 Midas locations, midas.ca.
Welcome back to the program. We're going to talk prospects. You just open up the old prospect cupboard and see what's in there. We know from a draft pick perspective, the very best draft pick they could possibly have coming up this summer. This is another reason people worry about, oh my God, they're not going to be in the draft lottery, and they don't have like an option to pick in the first round here because of the Dadonov deal and that mess. They don't have their first round pick in 2026, barring a last-second decision from the NHL, which I don't think any Sens fan is expecting anymore. But no first-round draft pick, and things are a little bare in the cupboard as well. They have Carter Yakimchuk from 2024, 7th overall draft pick. And then last summer, Logan Hensler at the University of Wisconsin. He was their 23rd overall pick. Those are the two, I think, top prospects, just based on their draft pedigree. But let's check on Corey Pronman's list in The Athletic, his top U23 prospects in the NHL. Maybe begin with who the top 5 overall are, Gregg.
Well, he splits it into tiers, right, Steve? Tier 1 is elite NHL player, and it's Celebrini, Bedard, Carlson. Tier 2 is bubble between elite NHL player and NHL All-Star. So that's 4 is Schaefer, 5 is Cooley, 6 is Wyatt Johnson before he continues on down the way into Tier 3 is NHL All-Star. Tier 4 is bubble between All-Star and top of the lineup. Tier 5 is top of the lineup. Tier 6 is bubble between top of the lineup and middle of the lineup. And that's how far you have to go to find your first Ottawa Center. Tier 6, bubble top and middle of lineup player. And it is number 50. I'm still scrolling. Wow. Number 54 is Carter Yakimchuk. According to Corey Pronman, he is the 54th best player, 23 and under, in the National Hockey League. Now, even if he's out by a little bit, if you could put an official plus or minus on this, I don't think the plus or minus would be off by much more than 10 to 12, right? So, okay, maybe at best, I'd say he's 42, somewhere in there. That's still not exactly shining my shoes right now to find him in there. I just left with, okay, he's a bubble between top of the lineup and middle of the lineup. In other words, a second pair defenseman, I'm guessing, is where Corey Pronman sees him fleshing out to be.
Well, this is not good, and I apologize. I think I framed the discussion that it was the top prospects. It's obviously under 23, all players.
Yes,
because obviously Macklin Celebrini is not a prospect anymore. He's off to the Olympics to represent Team Canada in a month. So, so Yakimchuk. Hensler not even on the list. Yikes.
Yeah, it goes to 137, Steve, and Hensler is not on the list. Now, the bottom tier, the tier 7, is what's considered to be middle of the lineup player. So there's nothing here for bottom of the lineup or may play some NHL games, which is often the next couple of tiers down the line. So Pronman's not saying he's never going to play in the NHL or that he's not a 5-6 defenseman. He's saying he is not a middle of the lineup player, not in the top 137 players that are 23 and under as NHL property right now as of today.
I know about 6 guys named Wheeler. What's the prospect guy? Wheeler?
Scotty.
Bueller?
Scotty on the show. Yeah, we had
Scott
Scotty
Wheeler. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I could not think of his name. There's, like I say, about 6 Wheelers that have come to my mind. Scott Wheeler actually had, he did not like what he saw from Logan Hensler at the Worlds, and I think his ice time was not good for a guy that's, he went down. Oh,
his ice time.
Oh, you mean his ice time
went on? Yeah.
Right. I think you're telling me he went down with injury. I didn't see that. But yeah, his ice time went down. I think he ended up like 10 minutes or something. Like he was in the bottom pairing, which is not what you were hoping for from a guy who was returning. He was on the World Junior Team USA team last year that won it all. And Wisconsin, things are kind of, I don't know, plateauing, I guess. It's certainly not been the spike you'd expect from a returning veteran there. So yeah, it's early days. But you're kind of hoping that you'd see that step forward, particularly when you're in against your age-appropriate peers, and you just didn't see that spike this year. So early days, like I say, but there is where the Sens are standing in the U23, and you think of the core of the Ottawa Senators, so young. Really, I think the core's window is here now. They're not kids anymore. They're now in their primes. I thought when you said U23 players, I'm thinking, yeah, there's no U23 players on the Ottawa Senators anymore. They're all 24 and up, whether that's Stützle or Ridley Gregg or Shane Pinto, Brady Tkachuk. Like the core has now moved into their prime, which is why there really is some pressure now. There's pressure from a competitive standpoint. This is a group that is basically going to run out of contract here in the next 3 years. So the clock on this team, as the core lies right now, is ticking.
But it kind of supports Steve Staios' summertime stance of we're relying on the group to develop internally, take some growth from last year to this year, because there's nobody who's going to push them for a job except maybe Yakimchuk. Otherwise, nobody was really going to be pushing for a job here. But it also makes you now look at it and go, all right, if they are buyers, what do they have to offer? They don't have a first-round pick until 27. You don't have you got one top prospect, really good flight A prospect in Yakimchuk. You don't really have anybody else. You don't really have any abundance of something at one position that's good that you could move on. So I don't see that if they're going to be buyers, I don't see what exactly they have to offer anyone that's going to get them what they need.
That's the struggle. That maybe they can pull something off. Maybe there's someone on the team that is maybe overrated where they go, okay, this is a sacrifice we're prepared to make. Maybe there's someone at forward, which is by comparison, if you look at goaltending, defense, and forward, I think that's the area of greatest strength for the Ottawa Senators. So maybe you have to part with something, sacrifice something, the way they did when they did the Chychrun for Nick Jensen deal. The Jensen health hasn't really stood up. I'm not sure he's the same player he was in his first year in Ottawa, but the idea of that deal, maybe you have to look at it again and say, okay, last year we had all these left shot defensemen who play the same kind of way. We had to unload Chychrun partially too that he wasn't going to re-sign here. So maybe you have to get your head around the idea of, okay, is this player going to re-sign with us? Is he maybe superfluous? Maybe we can get away with losing him to bring in strength elsewhere. So I think that if Steve Staios is going to do something meaningful, Like, he can muck around with, bit players on this thing. But if he's going to do something meaningful, he's going to have to part with something really good that Sens fans are going to hate.
Right. It's going to be a Gregg or a Pinto. And even having said that, I don't know what Ridley Gregg alone brings you. If you're going to trade a Ridley Gregg and you want to try to get a top six forward, well, does somebody have an extra top six forward? Does somebody have somebody in their system that they think could come in and be a top six forward, so they're willing to give one up and take in a Ridley Gregg, who I don't think is proven. I don't think he's a top six forward, at least not yet. Maybe he becomes one, but I don't see him as being a top six forward in the future. Does everyone else know that? Does every other team in the league know that Ridley Gregg's not a top six forward? And then I'd ask the question, well, why would I want to acquire Ridley Gregg and give up this, productive offensive guy to the Senators? So I think that's the tough part, is that what they have that they would be willing to give up. I think that's a short list, right? Like there are players you could trade and get something, but I don't think they're necessarily willing to give up what is going to be required to get exactly what they need.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. You have to give to get, and you have to give up something meaningful if you're going to bring back something that's going to move the needle. Otherwise, you're just moving the furniture around, and it's really not of any benefit to it. One guy on the prospect front, he's actually 24 now, I want to say, is Arthur Kaliev. And he's done everything that can possibly be asked of him. He's now leading the American Hockey League in goals, points, shots, and he has been named to the American Hockey League All-Star Classic, which is an odd thing in that they've decided to put it on exactly the same day as the Olympics begin. The Winter Olympic Hockey Men's Tournament starts on the very day that the All-Star game will be played, a 3-on-3 deal. But it's not a huge deal because it's a 6-hour time change, I think it is. And so all of the Olympics that we watch will be happening in the morning or the afternoon. But I found that a little interesting, but I'm getting sidetracked. So Kaliev, do you think, is there any place for him at some point this season? Or I guess it depends what happens at the deadline and where the standings are. They may have to call him up to close out the year. I'm not real optimistic that he's going to join the Senators at any point except for that circumstance. What say you?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat, Steve. I'm thinking if this guy, if he was viewed as a viable top six forward, a guy you could bring up, plug and play in the top six, and he would produce, then wouldn't he have been here by now? Wouldn't they have, they've shown no problem flipping Ridley Gregg in and out of top six. Even Shane Pinto's been top six, then he's down to third line. David Perron is up there and down, and there's guys moving around a lot, top six to bottom six, and you'd never really given Kaliev a shot up there. So I'm thinking they don't see it. They don't see him as being a viable option.
Completely agree. There was a name that was out there as far as the trade front goes, and that's one that TSN's Darren Dreger's been really pushing since the Sens were taking on Vancouver this week. Steve Staios, the day before the game, was in Montreal for the Canadiens' 6-3 win over the same Vancouver Canucks. He was there on some kind of scouting mission, I guess, or just to watch the game, not sure. But everybody was putting two and two together because the Canucks are a tire fire, and they are open for business, as we saw with the Quinn Hughes trade. So Darren Dreger, my immediate thought was maybe like a Philip Roenick or
That's the guy I'd like.
Or Tyler Myers he's a free agent at the end of the year. He could be a Band-Aid for you. He's making $3 million, whereas Roenick's are like, I don't know, he's probably up around 7, I think it is, and he's got a long-term contract, still like 4 or 5 years left on it. So that's more of a long-term marriage, and you'd have to give up more for him, quite obviously, as opposed to Myers. So I'm thinking defense, but Darren Dreger's all hot and bothered about Kiefer Sherwood. I'm like, yeah, he's got like 17 goals, 30 years of age, and he can help, but really, is that where you'd want? You have limited assets and trade chips. Why would you go after a guy like Kiefer Sherwood?
Yeah, he's not the answer. Like to me, he's not a top six guy. He's more of a middle six. He's more of a third line winger. Maybe his goal production is pretty good. So maybe if he's playing in a top six role with decent players, he could stick and produce. But I don't see that happening. I mean, the other one is DeBrusk, right? Jake DeBrusk is there and been floundering and been a health bomb a couple of games, and maybe he's a guy they're looking at. But my thought was Philip Hronek, but he makes too much money since he came over from Detroit. They gave him a huge deal there in Vancouver, but that's a right shot D. That's a nice pickup, but the cost, that not just the salary, but what it's going to cost you to get him. And Kiefer Sutherland, from what I hear, read, and see anywhere, the cost for Kiefer Sutherland is too high for the Senators to be dipping their toe in that pool. Come on.
What about Donald Sutherland? Do you think he's available?
Did I call him Kiefer Sutherland? I always call him Kiefer Sutherland.
Kiefer Sherwood.
It's Kiefer Coho. No, Sherwood. Sorry, Sherwood. Yeah.
Yeah.
PMP 5030, baby.
The Featherlight, baby. That's the best. I had that one. It's too heavy now. I mean, I can't do it. I still play beer league hockey. I still play beer league hockey 2-3 times a week, and as nobody was more committed to the PMP 5030 Sherwood Featherlight than me. But once I picked up the lightness of the sticks now, man, it's crazy. On the Sherwood by it's like caber tossing in Maxville or something when I have a wooden stick in my hand now.
I still use a 5030 coffee pattern, Steve. That's the only stick I use. And here I'm going to name drop. Yorkie chirps me anytime he sees me. He still makes cracks at me. You still using that 5030? Like, Yorkie's all over me because I use a wood 5030. Best stick.
I think I remember. I think the first time I met you, even before your radio days, was so it's me and Ron Graham, who's a longtime minor hockey coach in Ottawa as well. We were coaching Nepean girls hockey, and you came rolling in, and immediately you look around. It's like we had about 6 different coaches on the team, and you're like starting to rip. It's like, what is? You got more coaches in here? You got players or something? What is this? As you were coming in for your hour after hours. So anyway, yeah, and you had the point is you had the wooden stick with you as well. And we were chirping you back for that, I think was the message I was getting there. So this weekend's going to be a very important weekend for the Ottawa Senators as we look ahead to 2 big Atlantic Division rivals. As we mentioned earlier in the show, it'll be Montreal in front of sort of a home crowd at Canadian Tire Center. The Hab fans always invade, so it'll be at least half Hab fans. We know that. Big game there on Saturday night, 7:00, and then in Detroit, 5:00 on Sunday. It's kind of weird in that, so you've got the Belleville Senators playing at Canadian Tire Center against Utica at 5:00, and I'm like, why would you schedule it for 5:00 when the parent club is playing at 5:00? The whole city might want to come and see that game, but they also want to watch Ottawa, so I don't know if there's going to be a big crowd at Canadian Tire Center, but part of the reason that they're there is that this is the 30th anniversary weekend for Canadian Tire Center. And you think, man, almost everybody in Ottawa, whether you're a Sens fan or not, a fan of music or all number of events, Disney on Ice and monster trucks or whatever you love, it has hosted so many great events over the years. And I still remember, Gregg, like as an Ottawa kid, I was still quite young, the day that they gave the media a tour of Canadian Tire Center for the first time, and it was finished. And we were only days away from the Bryan Adams concert and the opening for Sens purposes. And the way I felt that day as an Ottawa guy, a guy who grew up here, I grew up in Richmond, Ontario, which is part of Ottawa now, but just outside of Ottawa. And just the way I felt as a hockey fan and a young man, just like I felt so excited and proud that we had NHL hockey for 3 or 4 years at that stage. I was still blown away by that. But this new Taj Mahal NHL Mecca, it was such a special moment to just be wandering around wide-eyed looking at that place. So there's part of me when we talk about LeBreton and a new facility, it's like, oh, yeah, I could replace that old place. I still have a soft spot for Canadian Tire Center as is.
Yeah. It's a nice building. Like, I'm a hockey fan. I don't need fancy food menus. I don't need fancy seating in one end zone in this club or that club or whatever. Just give me a seat with a half decent view, decent lighting, and I'm fine. I'm good. I don't care about all the rest of that stuff. I like the rink.
Yeah. Lots of great memories there for sure. I went to see Garth Brooks there, for example. That was a lot of fun. Oh, nice. Yeah, we had to line up and get bracelets for it at what was then the old Treble Clef on Marivelle Road, I think it was. Anyways, everybody's got lots of great memories about the Canadian Tire Center, or Palladium as it was known back in the day. It would later be the Corel Center and now the Canadian Tire Center, and Scotiabank Place for a while. Remember that? 30 Rock had a great song. I'm going to play it right here. I'll insert it. I don't have it ready right now, but on 30 Rock, they actually had the intern. He talked about winning a Juno Award for the best pump-up song at an NHL game, and it was about Scotiabank Place. So I'll close the show with that. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being with us today here on the Jim K. Ford Sens Nation podcast. We appreciate it. Our website is sensnationhockey.com. Don't forget to check out the hockey news at thn.com/Ottawa. And Greg, hope you have yourself a great weekend, and we'll talk to you in our next episode.
Yeah, 2-0 weekend, right? Let's go, Sens. See you, bud.
Ooh, you're calling it. Nice.